This is an overview of the upper part of Crowden Little Brook, starting from just after Black Hill End and running up to Tooleyshaw Moss.
This is the walk-in to the upper part of Crowden Little Brook. So starting just above Torside Reservoir at Crowden Car Park, not going up there, which is Crowden Great Brook, but here and off to the right, all the way along the path you can see ahead, and just round that corner up there to get to the upper part of Crowden Little Brook. Around about 40 minutes from the car park now, and should you want a little bit of entertainment on the way, you can see there the semicircular sheepfolds. You can go down into the brook, and just where you can see those stones around about there is going to be a little waterfall about 6 or 7 feet high. Above the waterfall by the ex-sheepfold, nothing of note, pretty flat, tiniest of cascades only. 1 hour out from the car park, and it's time to descend. Probably going to go down this bridge here, and there's a bit of a path that goes along at the bottom. Now down by the side of the brook, and this is just a very flat section. Moving up now to just some baby cascades. Upper Crowden Little Brook, waterfall number 1, which has got some large steps in it, but looks pretty easy. So for the first step here, can go up the centre. This one here, come over to the left side as you're coming up, and just one there and one there and one there. Very easy to clamber up. Above the waterfall, just baby cascades, not worth getting into the brook for. So here's the main flow of Crowden Little Brook, and off to one side here is Meadow Clough with a moderately sizable waterfall in it. Here's the waterfall up closer. Nice and easy for the first bit, but then there is a pretty hefty overhang that runs quite a long way along. Possibility that you could try and make it up there, or you could try and make it up there, but I'm going to declare that greater than grade 1 and not to be attempted alone and or without a rope. Looks to be a possible very steep escape route if you wanted to get round, going all the way up to the top there. Now back onto Crowden Little Brook. Usual story, lots of little cascades, but nothing worth getting into the brook for. Just up from Meadow Clough, which is just there, is an unnamed clough, but it's quite nice and steep, and in an otherwise not very interesting section of Crowden Little Brook, that's going to be worth having a climb up. This clough, it's not much more than grade less than a half. Probably wouldn't have done it if I hadn't a chicken out of Meadow Clough. Nothing really to recommend it, so best to just get back down to the main brook. After a couple of cascades that were maybe 3-4 feet in height, here we come to the third waterfall on Crowden Little Brook, the second one of the upper section of the brook. Looks a bit overhung, but maybe a route going right to left diagonally up it. Total height, I guess, maybe about 10 feet or so, but as ever, from a deep pool. Well, I'm sorry to say that it defeated me. I tried to go up the centre, I tried to go up the left, I tried to go up the right, I tried to skirt around the rocks to the left and to the right, and for each one of them, the handholds, the footholds were just not there. The overhang was just a little too bit, so I'm afraid we're going to have to grade this one a 1.5. and one of those ones a bit like Meadow Clough you're going to have to do with, or I'm going to have to do with somebody else, or using a rope. Above my waterfall of failure, we are just back to Babbling Brook status. Bibble, bobble, babble, babble, on and on, up the stream, getting narrower, having to cross over from side to side constantly, walking beside it, and increasingly reedy, and no doubt in the summertime increasingly brackeny. We're now at the fourth of the overall waterfalls on Crowden Little Brook. The one on Meadow Clough, I would say maybe 20-25 feet tall. The third waterfall on Crowden Little Brook, otherwise known as the Waterfall of Failure, maybe around about 10 feet, and this one looking to be about 7 or 8 feet. Just about managed to scrabble and haul myself up on what is the right hand side of the waterfall as you're facing it. A second waterfall is promised on the map. If this is it, it is very diddy. Not more than about 5 foot tall and very easy to get up. That little half waterfall was the final one, so the fifth of those that are marked on the map on Crowden Little Brook, and from here on up it's just reedy babble all the way up to the top of Black Hill, I suspect. Certainly the contours look relatively shallow and there's nothing marked on the map in the way of waterfalls, so I don't think worth pursuing the brook any further from here. That's the end of it. That was Crowden Little Brook. So the upper part of it, those 4, or maybe you could call them 3.5 waterfalls all together, quite spaced out. I'm now a good 2 hours, I would say, from Crowden car park, so it's a very long way to go, and undoubtedly there are more interesting, steeper, better ones with waterfalls that are closer together, more interesting things to be done. It will of course not me that I haven't managed to get up that third waterfall yet, so I might personally come back and have a go at it. But other than that, I can understand why Crowden Little Brook is not listed in the Scrambles in the Dark Peak book.
It wasn't quite correct to say the brook isn't in the Scrambles in the Dark Peak book. It does get a mention, but it's not a listed scramble, most likely because the waterfalls are the only feature of interest. They are significantly spaced out, and it's quite a long hike in before you reach the first of them. So overall, there are definitely better Clough scrambles.